Hey, I'm Andy Aledort, and in this edition of In Deep, I'd like to talk about the guitar playing of one of the greatest blues guitar players ever, the incredible Albert Collins. I had the great good fortune to get to know Albert relatively well. I interviewed him a bunch of times, and then I got to play with him a few times, which was one of the true highlights of my life. He was a wonderful guy. Anybody that knew Albert Collins would tell you the same thing. He was a very sweet person, and he was an incredible guitar player. There were some interesting things about his playing. He usually used a capo, and he used a very unusual tuning. So let's start with the tuning, and then we're going to get into the capo, and then I'll play some examples in his style. Albert Collins played in an open F minor tuning. So, as you most likely know, the guitar is usually tuned E, A, D, G, B, E. That's standard tuning, and it's not a chord. If you strum across the strings, you don't get a typical chord. So F minor is played like that. But Albert would tune his guitar so that he would get this sound by strumming across the strings open. He would tune his low E to F, his A string all the way up to C, his D string all the way up to F, and then the top three were all up a half step. A flat, C, F. What I'm going to do to emulate his style, because it's a little easier to do and a little simpler, is we're going to tune to open E minor. Because it's basically the same thing in terms of the structure of the tuning and the way the licks fall, but you don't have to tune all 6 strings or retune all 6 strings. All you need to do is tune your 5th string up a whole step from A to B, and your 4th string up a whole step from D to E. So let's do that. We're going to take A, tune it up to B. I'm going to take D and tune it up to E. And then let's check our other strings. So the 6th string should be E. Of course, it goes a little flat when you tune the other strings. Then we have B, E, and then the top 3 stay the same. G, B, and E. So when you strum across all the strings, you have an open E minor chord. So let's grab a capo. So anywhere you put the capo, that's going to be a minor chord, and the note that's on the 6th string and the 4th string and the 1st string will tell you the name of the chord. So if this is E minor, this would be F minor, F sharp or G flat minor, G minor, etc. And if you watch Albert Collins, you'll see sometimes he'll have his capo way up the neck. But for our example, we're just going to go to the 3rd fret because we're going to play in the key of G. Now when you put the capo on, oftentimes it makes the strings a little sharp. So let's check our tuning one more time. That looks good. D, G, D, G, little sharp. Then this is B flat. There's our D. And there's our G on top. So if you strum across a string, you have a G minor chord. So the interesting thing about this is Collins would add the major 3rd. Just because he used a minor tuning didn't mean he played blues in minor keys very often. But he would use that, the fact that the 3rd string was a minor 3rd, so he could hammer up to the major 3rd. this case, there's your G7th chord. And then your C7 is here, like that. And that would be your D7. So I'm going to play to a track now, and I'm going to emulate Albert Collins style through the licks I'm going to play. And then one of the big things about it is you can do these pull-ups. You can use those open strings in the licks because they are in tune or part of the chord. All those notes work because of the tuning. Here we go. All right, so let's take a look at what I did there. So I can hammer into my major third. So what's happening on the top, it's a lot like if you were playing a song in the key of E. You can use your open first string and second string. But what happens, and the G string is the same as well, things change when you get to the D string. Our root note doesn't have to be a fretted note. So one of the things Collins liked to do, he would go. So what I'm doing is I'm hammering up to the third, but then I'm doing a rake, dragging the pick across the D and the A string. And that's a big Collins lick. And then I can use those. And I did a. He also likes some licks like that. All right, let's do another 12-bar solo now in this tuning in Albert style. So when you're in this tuning, you can really play on the top string pretty normally, just keeping in mind that you could use your open string. But when you get to the D and the A string, that's where things change. So here, it's nice. You can just play normally. You don't have to think about the fact that you're in a different tuning. So it's nice to move down those three strings. And then when you get here, and you work in those open root notes and the fifth on those two strings. Try to get that rake in there too. Collins also loves those quick trills on the top strings. And so it's a really fun tuning to experiment with. I'm sure you can come up with some great licks of your own. Be sure to listen to Frosty and T-Bone Shuffle and so many classic Collins tunes.